Chair, look, it was emailed to the Senate office that I'm moving Senator Curry's amendments today. She's out of the country.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, perfect. So I'd like to move amendment number 22. And Minister, just to apologise for Senator Curry, she is away at the minute on an Oireachtas delegation, and in her behalf I'm moving these amendments. And indeed Senator Curry has been a very strong advocate of this bill for the last 2 years, and I just want to make sure a couple of the points that Senator Curry have are put on the record of the House. So in relation to amendment number 22, in Senator Curry's view, the amendment is a straightforward deletion of the requirement to work for 26 weeks before being entitled to request a flexible working arrangement or remote working. So the idea is that you still have to prove yourself before you're entitled to flexible work, which means we aren't embracing a new approach to working after all. Some get access to flexibility and some don't. And actually the social benefits and social change comes when you make flexibility a cultural change rather than a term and condition. So the requirement for someone to work in an office environment for 26 weeks or 6 months will hold people back from being able to work and live where they want if their role allows that in the first instance. Location will remain a barrier to employment, as someone who will have to base themselves where their job is before then proving that they can work remotely. Senator Curry believes that our national strategy of bringing remote work to the regions will actually be quite held back as a result of this condition. It will hold back lone parents, it will hold back people with a disability, and it will hold back others who need that level of flexibility from day one and have no guarantee after 6 months in this legislation that they'll get it then. Thank you, Chair.
Ish on Ara.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks to the Senator for speaking on behalf of Senator Curry. So these amendments propose to delete or alter sections 13b(4) in part and in whole, which provides a flexible working arrangement for caring purposes cannot commence before an employee has completed 6 months continuous service with the employer concerned. Providing a minimum length of service of 6 months before an employee can commence a flexible working arrangement or remote working arrangement allows an employer the time to assess the plausibility and practicalities of a request from a new employee. An employer may, of course, waive this period, and I think that's an important point to note. The entitlement to many forms of family leave require a minimum period of employment with an employer. So, for example, for parental leave and for carers leave, there's a minimum period of 1 year's employment. For statutory sick leave, it requires a period of 13 weeks continuous service. So the directive itself envisages a notice period for flexible working arrangements. These amendments also propose to delete or alter section 20 in part or in whole, which mirror the flexible working provisions, providing that a remote working arrangement cannot commence before an employee has completed 6 months continuous service with the employer concerned. Under this bill, a request for remote working can be made from day one, and a remote working arrangement can commence at 6 months. Again, an employer can waive this period, as the intention of this legislation is to provide floor-level protections for employees. In effect, an employee may start a remote working arrangement up to 12 weeks earlier than was provided for under the original right to request remote working bill, which, as we know, has been amalgamated into this bill. So we believe that the provisions here strike that balance between the need of the employee to take up flexible or remote working requirements and the need of the employer to have some sense of the practicalities of the implementation of that particular request. So I'm not proposing to accept these amendments at present.